Today we're going to be having a special guest too. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Mel and today I'm going to be having a special guest, a friend of mine, Nashe. We're going to be having a chit chat mainly on careers, our lives in the UAE, and also the huge topic of the month of May, which is mental health awareness. And then we're going to be concentrating mainly on the topic of depression and also how it has affected Africans and also the African community. Hello.
Thank you for having me.
Yay! We've been talking about doing this for such a long time.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming.
And I keep postponing, but I'm happy that we're finally doing it now.
Yeah.
So let's talk about you. Tell me about you. Not tell me, I already know you, but tell the viewers a little bit about yourself and how you came to be here and what you're currently doing.
Alright, so my name is Nashe. Well, people call me Nashe for short. Because it's a really long name. Africans, they love to give meaningful long names.
I know.
And I've been here for 3 years now. When I came, I thought I'll just come for 2 years, make my money, go home, and that's it. But things didn't go according to plan. And I'm still here. I'm still counting.
I know.
I'm into hospitality. I'm doing hospitality like most of the people who are here in Dubai.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been quite an experience.
And I know that you didn't start from there. So it was like a first thing for you. It's not like me who started off with hospitality from the beginning.
Yeah.
But it's something that you just caught on to when you got an opportunity to come here. So how has that been in the past 3 years?
Well, it's been a lot of things to be truthful with you. It's been sort of like a ride.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's up, sometimes there are downs as well. But it's been quite an experience, and I've learned a lot. Well, not all the good things, but they're good times as well. Yeah, I've really enjoyed it.
It's quite a diverse, how can I say, a diverse industry, because you have a lot of people from different places and so forth. So it really does, make, bring to light the story of depression, because I've heard of people that are working in the UAE and sort of in a depressive mode because of being away from home, and also just the experience itself, not necessarily working with people that you're used to working with, and so forth.
Yeah, that's true.
So tell me about that. How has that has it affected you in any way or anything like that?
Well, definitely. The funny thing about depression, especially for someone who's coming from Africa, someone who's coming from Zimbabwe, the first time that I experienced it personally, I didn't even know that it was depression, because coming from back home, it's not something that you're familiar with. In the sense that you have depression, but you don't know that it's depression.
Exactly.
Because from back home, maybe they will tell you manane ndimono. You need to pray about it. Yeah, that's the thing. You need to pray about it. Of which, at the end of the day, we all need someone to talk to about the things that we've been going through, especially here in UAE. There are a lot of challenges that you will face, especially for someone who's black.
True.
To be truthful, it's a totally different experience. You come here and all the things that she knew, it's like you throw them in the garbage.
Yeah, it's totally different.
It's a totally different experience. So, and you're away from family, like what you said, and you get depressed. And if you really don't have someone to talk to about it, it'll mess you up.
That's true. One thing that I was really appreciative of when I came to the UAE, was mainly because I had family and friends that were around me, and also just having people that church it really helped. But then I still feel, yes, we might go to church and everything, but depression still finds a way to creep in, and depression is still there. And because like you were saying, in the African community, how we take depression, it's like, what is that, you know? Like, what are you talking about? But just being able to find friends and family, or even just friends that become family, in the UAE, has helped me personally to be able to cope with depression. And I read something, like you posted, there's a blog that you did recently, and I wanted to just shed some light to that, and I'll also be adding the link to the post. And this is just a paragraph from the blog that you did, and it says, stepping into the shower, she closes her eyes to the water's coldness as it soaks into her skin, and leans against the cool towels before her weak legs threatens to buckle. A desolate sobbing comes out of her, tears mingling with water. Anxiety, the party crasher, doesn't ask for much from her, but when it asks for something she cannot give. And unlike a flu or headache, you can't call in to work saying, "Oh, I'm sick, I won't be able to make it today." Can't call in sick because you're sad? No. Now can you? Depression is funny like that, and that is so true.
When I posted that article, the statement that says, like, when anxiety comes and it asks something of you, it asks for something that you cannot give. Someone sent me a WhatsApp message and was like, "What does anxiety ask for?" I'm like,
I don't know.
I'm like, yo, anxiety asks for your life. Like, it asks to us, like, to help you or in your own way. That's the thing. Like what I've been saying. Like, the moment that you suffer from anxiety, most of us, especially like with our backgrounds, you don't know what it is. Like, I'm sad, but I don't have a reason to be sad.
Yes.
Like
you can't pinpoint the actual thing.
That's the thing. That's the thing. You cannot really find a real reason. Like, why am I sad? Or I'm tired, but I haven't been working that hard. Like, so why am I feeling tired?
Yeah.
So the moment that you start like to investigate and like try to find out what's wrong with you, that's when I realized, oh, there's this thing called depression. But coming from back home, depression was a white man's disease, to be honest with you. Like, it wasn't something like, how can you be depressed? You're black man. How can someone who is sad be depressed? That's the thing. So you start to realize, at first you are embarrassed about it because mental health is not something that we are familiar with.
Yes.
Like back home, it's either you have a demon or you have something else. Like, that was never that was a taboo topic for us.
Exactly.
So now when you come and you start to realize, okay, maybe I need help, maybe I need someone to talk to, of which in our community we have this thing where we call like fugra hapka. You're not supposed to lay your business. You're not supposed to talk about your business with other people. So how can I feel confident to talk about my business with maybe a counselor, someone whom I don't even know? How can I tell someone I don't know about my business?
Exactly.
So it takes really like self-love, it takes patience, it takes a lot out of you for you to be able to open up, like, okay, and be able like to admit, like, okay, I'm suffering from depression, okay, I need help, maybe I need someone to talk to someone, is it my pastor or maybe a counselor? For me personally, I don't really feel comfortable, maybe it's because of the way that I grew up, I don't really feel comfortable talking to a counselor, so I'd rather have maybe a friend that I can be able to confide in, someone who I feel comfortable in talking to about my life, my situation too.
That's true. That's true. And even just thinking about that, I know that like people still have different ways of coping with depression and all of that. I still feel like it's something that you need to talk to someone about. But again, there's also like different ways of fighting depression, different ways of like getting better
Yeah.
from that and all. And my take from it all, being African and just being told like not, oh, you shouldn't, like what you're saying, that we shouldn't.
You cannot talk about
you
it.
can't.
Yeah,
you
it's
can't
taboo.
share your business.
Yeah.
It's taboo and everything. I still just believe in my heart, that it really helps to talk about it, and
It does.
And in my experiences, I've always felt better, like, when I'm not feeling too good or whatever, or just have a lot of things going, like, to be honest, with what we're currently going through with COVID-19, it's really been depressing because, people are losing jobs left, right, and center and everything. So you really, like, are thinking, oh my God, am I next? Am I on the list, and all of that. But, how can I say, like, I think I have found comfort in just praying and also just talking about it with other people, because I can't say it's a good thing, I don't know how to say it, but how we're all going through the same thing, so everyone is in the same boat.
You can all be able to relate.
We are all able to relate, exactly, and just be like, hey, shamari yangu akadzingwa basa, or I feel like I'm next because the next person got fired or something, or just go balance because of the way things are going. So you'd be able to speak about it, and I think that it's also a good thing for us to learn from the experiences that we're going through right now, to be able to, like, do the same thing in the future when we go through different experiences, because COVID-19 is going to end at some point, cooking and all of that. But what in your experience have you been able to do to fight depression?
But for me, I think the first step is actually admitting that you need help. Like, that's the first step. Once you admit that I need help, then everything else is like a walk in the park. Of course, it's not going to be easy, but once you find that, okay, I need help, and you admit to yourself that or something like that, then from there, like, focus on those things that you have. At least for me, when I write, like, I'm not much of a talker, but when I write, I'm able, like, to release my feelings on paper and without anyone interrupting me.
Yeah, that's something that you go in and out of. So it's not like a state you stay in. So I think it's just more or less about finding ways that you personally can do to be able to get out of that state within that period of time. The method might not be the same the next time around and so forth. But again, for me, another thing is because of my love for God, I always find comfort in the Word, and I know that you also love God just as much or more than I do.
We'll keep it just as much.
Yes, just as much, exactly. I know, would you like to share a passage from the Bible that you usually use whenever you're feeling down?
Well, for me, I always go with Isaiah. Isaiah, he talks about waiting for the Lord, like, they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. So, it's always about finding that strength in God, finding that strength in prayer, just keep motivating yourself, keep encouraging yourself in the Lord. And if you're someone like who believes in God, that really helps. It really helps.
That's true. And before we close, my passage will be coming from Psalm 40, verse 1 to 3, and it says, I waited patiently for the Lord. He turned to me and heard my cry. He lifted me out of a slimy pit, out of the mud and mire. He set my feet on a rock and gave me a firm place to stand. He put a new song in my mouth, a hymn of praise to our God. Many will see and fear the Lord and put their trust in Him. So with that said, thank you so much, Nashe, for coming through. For this madonna.
It was a pleasure talking to you. It was really good to have this little chat.
I really appreciate it, and hopefully in the near future we'll be doing another one.
Definitely.
Thank you guys again for watching. Please do like, share, and also subscribe. Peace out.